The doors of the grand chamber opened with a sound like thunder. Ambassador David Cole stood at the entrance, looking at the most powerful room in the galaxy. 17,000 seats rose in circles around a single platform at the center. The platform glowed with white light from above, designed to make anyone standing there feel small and weak. David Cole did not feel small. He was an ordinary human by galactic standards. No natural armor on his skin. No poison in his body. No ability to see heat or hear thoughts. Just a 53-year-old man in a simple black uniform, his gray hair cut short, his hands clasped behind his back. The representatives of 400 species watched him from their seats. Some had scales. Some had wings. Some were made of crystal or gas or living metal. All of them looked down at the single human walking toward the center of the room. High Arbiter Volek of the Therian Empire rose from his throne at the top of the chamber. His body was made of flowing light, shifting from blue to orange as his emotions changed. He had ruled this council for 600 years. No species had ever shown such stubborn behavior as humans. Ambassador Cole, Volek said, his voice filling every corner of the massive room. The council has made its decision. Your colony on Kepler 442b will be removed. The Morthax Dominion claims that territory. Their claim is 12,000 years old. This matter is finished. 17,000 representatives waited for the human to beg, to argue, to show fear. David Cole smiled. It was a small smile. Just a tiny curve at the corner of his mouth. But something about that smile made Warlord Thorax of the Morthax Dominion shift uncomfortably in his seat. The Morthax were the most feared warriors in the galaxy. 8 legs, armor that could stop laser fire, and senses that could smell fear from across a room. They smelled no fear from the human. They smelled something else. Something that made Thorax very uncomfortable. High Arbiter, David said. His voice was calm and clear. I did not come here to receive your judgment. Whispers spread through the chamber like wind through grass. Volek turned bright red with anger. You were summoned. You will obey. No. David reached into his uniform and pulled out a small metal tube. It was the official seal of the United Earth government. He placed it on the platform, and a holographic document appeared above it, written in every language of the Council. Starting now, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. All treaties are cancelled. All agreements are ended. All partnerships are finished. The chamber exploded with noise. Volek slammed his hand against his throne, demanding silence. You cannot simply leave. No species has ever done this. Article 7, Section 31 of the Council Charter. David interrupted, still smiling. Any founding member may leave immediately if the Council no longer serves their interests. Humanity was the 47th species to sign that charter. We helped write Article 7. Thorax rose from his seat. His massive body cast shadows over the lower levels. You think you can survive alone, human? Your species has been part of this council for only 300 years. You are children. You have no idea what dangers exist in the darkness between stars. David Cole turned to face the 8-legged warrior who could tear him apart in seconds. For a long moment, the human simply looked at the most feared predator in the known galaxy. Then he laughed. It was not a nervous laugh. It was not a brave laugh. It was a genuine laugh of amusement, as if Thorax had told a funny joke. Warlord, David said, we know exactly what exists in the darkness. We have always known. He looked up at the assembled representatives. All of you forgot something important about humans. He turned back to Volek. You forgot that before we joined your council, before we became civilized by your standards, we survived alone for 200,000 years on a death world. We crawled out of caves. We tamed fire. We split atoms. We broke free of our own gravity. We did all of this without any help from anyone. The chamber had gone completely silent. You think the galaxy is dangerous? David continued. Earth is the dangerous place. Everything on our planet evolved to kill everything else. We did not become the dominant species because we were strong or fast or had poison. We became dominant because we learned to work together, to plan, to wait, and to never forget when someone wronged us. He picked up his seal from the platform. You just taught 8 billion humans a very important lesson about this council. I hope you are prepared to learn what happens next. David Cole walked toward the doors. Ambassador. Volek called out. What happens when your colonists resist? The Morthax will not be gentle. David stopped at the doorway. He turned one last time. Then the Morthax will learn what we learned 10,000 years ago. Humanity does not abandon its own. Ever. The doors closed behind him. In the silence that followed, Trade Minister Kellum of the Brevari Consortium leaned toward his assistant. The insect-like diplomat had worked with humans for over a century. He had learned to read their expressions. What did you see? His assistant asked. Kellum's jaw clicked in what his species used to show worry. I saw a predator that has been pretending to be prey. And I fear we have just made a terrible mistake. Within hours of David Cole's departure, the council returned to business as usual. High Arbiter Volek addressed the assembly with confident colors. Humanity has overestimated their importance, he declared. They are a young species, barely out of their cradle. The galaxy worked for millions of years before they arrived. It will continue without them. Thorax agreed. My forces will secure the Kepler system within the standard cycle. The humans there number only 40,000. They have no military presence. The council voted to proceed with removing the human colonists. Only the Brevari Consortium did not vote, with Trade Minister Kellum watching silently. But something strange happened across the galaxy in the following days. Human workers, human consultants, human technicians, human traders, all began leaving their jobs. Not with protests or fights. They simply stopped working and went home. On the massive Brevari trading station called Nexus Prime, 37 human logistics workers submitted their resignations and boarded the next transport to Earth. Station Administrator Melox barely noticed at first. 37 workers out of thousands seemed unimportant. Then the cargo systems began failing. Then the communications went dark, and the power fluctuated. And in the Kepler system, Thorax's invasion fleet arrived to find something unexpected. The human colony was still there, but it was no longer undefended. 12 massive vessels hung in orbit. Ships that appeared in no council database. Ships bearing a simple flag of a fall. Pale blue circle on black, Earth's hidden fleet had arrived. The galaxy was about to discover what humanity had really been doing. For 300 years, Warlord Thorax stared at his tactical display and felt something he had not experienced in 200 years of conquest. He felt doubt. His invasion fleet of 60 warships had emerged from hyperspace, expecting to find a defenseless human colony. Instead, 12 massive vessels blocked his path. They were unlike anything in the Council's records. Their shapes seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Their energy signatures read as impossible. Their weapon systems could not be identified. Where did these come from? Thorax demanded. Human military capacity was assessed at fewer than 50 small warships. His tactical officer's voice shook. Warlord, these are not warships by any design we recognize. I cannot even determine how they are powered. A message arrived on the Morthax flagship's communication system. Audio only. A human voice, calm and female. Morthax Dominion vessels. This system is under the protection of the United Earth government. You have 12 hours to withdraw. This is your only warning. Thorax's pride fought against his survival instincts. The Morthacs were conquerors. They did not retreat from smaller species. Scan those vessels, he ordered. Find their weaknesses. The scan results came back with a single word that chilled his blood. Unknown. Thorax thought of David Cole's smile in the council chamber. He thought of the words spoken with such confidence. We know exactly what lurks in the dark. What else had humanity been hiding? Back on Earth, in a bunker 3 kilometers beneath the mountains, Ambassador David Cole met with General Diana Reyes and Dr. Elena Wright. These 3 people ran humanity's true galactic operations. The operations that no other species knew about. The Kepler fleet is holding position, General Reyes reported. Thorax has not moved in 6 hours. He is scared. Good, David said. Keep him that way. Dr. Wright pulled up a map of the galaxy. Our withdrawal is 92% complete. Human workers are returning from across the galaxy. The remainder are deep cover agents who chose to stay. Casualties? 12 dead. The Morthacs killed 3 families who refused to evacuate from Kepler before our fleet arrived. 9 others died in infrastructure failures on various stations. David closed his eyes. 12 humans who would never come home. We will remember them. He opened his eyes and looked at the map. Begin Phase 3. Dr. Wright nodded and entered a command into her console. Across the galaxy, in 12 locations that no other species knew existed, ancient machines began to wake up. Machines that humanity had discovered during their earliest explorations. Machines that they had spent 300 years secretly restoring. The precursor network was coming online, and humanity held the keys. 6 standard cycles after humanity's withdrawal, the galactic economy began to collapse. It started slowly. Supply chains broke. Communications failed. Minor problems that most species blamed on adjustment periods. The Council assured everyone that replacement workers would be trained, that human systems would be copied, that everything would return to normal. It did not return to normal. On the Bravari homeworld, Trade Minister Kellum stood before an emergency assembly. The chamber, usually filled with confident discussions of profit, had gone silent. Current losses exceed 4 trillion credits, Kellum reported. 17 major trade routes are not working. Our food distribution network operates at 31% capacity. Rationing will begin within the next cycle. Grand Merchant Pelogs rose from his platform. He was ancient, his shell worn smooth by 3 centuries of wealth. This is impossible. Humans represented less than 2% of our workforce. 2% of our workforce, Cullum agreed. But they designed 47% of our automated systems. They maintained 62% of our communication equipment. They negotiated 39% of our trade agreements with non-council species. He paused. And they ran 100% of our relationship with the Outer Rim Independents. The chamber stirred with alarm. The Outer Rim Independents were species that had never joined the Council by choice. They controlled resources the Council desperately needed. The humans managed that relationship? Pollux demanded. For 200 cycles. The Independents trust humans. Something about shared values regarding freedom and self-determination. Kellum's jaw clicked with bitter irony. The Independents have announced a complete trade stop against all Council species until humanity returns. The chamber erupted with panic. Kellum waited for silence before delivering the final blow. There is more. The humans have activated something called the Precursor Network. Pelex's ancient shell actually cracked along one edge from shock. That is a myth. The precursors vanished 7 million cycles ago. Their technology was lost forever. Not lost, Kellum said quietly. Hidden, and humanity found it. At the edge of civilized space, a research station called Farpoint 9 detected something that made its crew go cold with terror. The boundary was moving. For 7 million years, the boundary had been a fixed line, an invisible wall beyond which no probe had ever returned, no signal had ever escaped. The precursors had created it, and it had remained stable since their disappearance. Now it was advancing, slowly but certainly, consuming space that had been safe for millions of years. Station Commander Vathis sent his findings to the Council. The boundary is expanding. At this rate, it will reach the first inhabited systems within 50 cycles. What is causing this? High Arbiter Volek demanded. Unknown. But I checked our historical records against the expansion pattern. Vathis hesitated. The boundary began moving 6 cycles ago, the same day humanity withdrew from the Council. The meaning hung in the silence like poison. Kellum was the first to speak. We need to contact Earth. Whatever humanity was doing for the galaxy, whatever protection they provided, we have lost it. They will not respond to us, Volek said. They have made that clear. Then we go to them. Kellum's jaw clicked with determination. I will lead a diplomatic mission personally. I will travel to Earth and beg if I must. The Brevari do not beg, Pollux protested. Then the Brevari will be consumed by whatever lies beyond the boundary. On Earth, Ambassador David Cole watched the galactic communications with something close to pity. They are scared, General Reyes observed. They should be. Dr. Wright displayed the boundary on screen. The precursors did not just disappear 7 million years ago. They retreated. They built the boundary to keep something out. Something they could not defeat, only contain. And we have been maintaining that containment, David added. Every human worker placed across the galaxy was actually part of the network, a living piece of the precursor defense system. When we withdrew our people, we created gaps. Small gaps. But the things beyond the boundary noticed. The Brevari are sending a diplomatic mission, Rhea said. Kellum is leading it. David made his decision. Let him through. Let him see what we are doing. And let him understand what it will cost for the Council to have our protection again. In the darkness beyond civilized space, something ancient stirred. It had been waiting for 7 million years. It had felt the gaps in the containment dot. It began to move toward the light. Trade, Minister Kellum's ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Within seconds, 6 human vessels appeared around him. They moved with a grace that made normal ships look clumsy and slow. Trade Minister Kellum, a human voice came through the communication system. You are expected. Follow the beacon to Earth orbit. Do not scan anything. Do not transmit on any frequency we have not approved. We comply, Kellum responded. The journey to Earth took 4 hours. Kellum spent them watching through observation windows as the human vessels escorted his ship. They were always present, always watching, always moving in patterns he could not predict. His assistant, a young Brevari named Silix, leaned close. Trade Minister, I have been studying their formation patterns. They are not random. What do you mean? They are testing us. Every few minutes, they shift position in ways that create brief openings. Gaps that a military vessel might try to use for escape or attack. Silix's antennae trembled. But the gaps are traps. Every opening leads to a kill zone. Kellum understood. The humans were showing capability without making threats. They were proving that escape was impossible, attack was pointless, but cooperation was safe. It was elegant. Terrifying, but elegant. Earth hung in the viewport like a blue marble. Beautiful and dangerous in equal measure. Kellum had read the old survey reports describing the planet as a death world due to its extreme life forms and competitive evolution. He had always thought the description was exaggeration. Looking at the swirling clouds, The vast oceans, the continents filled with life that had spent billions of years trying to kill each other. He changed his mind. Kellum landed at a facility the humans called the Diplomatic Reception Center. It was located on a small island in a warm sea, pleasant and welcoming. Designed to put visitors at ease. Kellum was not at ease. Ambassador David Cole waited on the landing platform. He looked exactly as he had in the council chamber. Calm, confident, completely in control. "Trade Minister," David said, extending his hand. "Welcome to Earth." Kellum had studied human customs. He extended his own limb and allowed David to grasp it. "Ambassador Cole, I thank you for receiving us. You came a long way. The least we can do is hear what you have to say." The meeting room was simple. A round table, comfortable seating for various species, windows looking out over the ocean. No ceremony, no displays of power. Just a space for conversation. Dr. Elena Wright and General Diana Reyes joined them. Kellum noted that these three humans represented military, scientific, and diplomatic leadership. Whatever he said here would matter. "I will not waste your time," Kellum began. "The Council is in crisis. Economies are failing. The boundary is expanding. We need humanity's help." "We know," David said simply. "Then you also know we are willing to negotiate. Full territory recognition for all human colonies. Permanent seats on the Council with veto power. Trade agreements, technology sharing, whatever you require." David exchanged looks with his colleagues. "Trade Minister, do you understand why we withdrew? You were angry. The Council ruled against you in the Kepler matter. The Kepler ruling was the excuse, not the reason." David leaned forward. "Do you know what humanity has been doing for the last 3 centuries? You have been integrating, working, contributing to galactic society. We have been saving galactic society." David nodded to Elena, who activated a holographic display. The projection showed the galaxy, filled with a web of glowing lines connecting millions of points. The lines pulsed with energy, flowing toward the outer edges of civilized space. "The precursor network," Elena explained. 7 million years ago, the precursors faced an existential threat. Entities from beyond normal space that consume everything they touch. The precursors could not defeat them, but they could contain them. They built the boundary, powered by this network. "But the precursors vanished," Kellum said. "They uploaded themselves into the network, becoming the power source for the containment field. But the network requires maintenance. Living beings to connect the nodes, to repair damage." Elena highlighted points on the display. The humans who worked across the galaxy were not just workers. They were network components, living bridges between precursor technology and modern equipment. Kellum felt his shell grow cold. "You were maintaining the boundary all this time." "All this time," David confirmed. "When we withdrew our people, we created gaps in the network. Small gaps. But the entities beyond the boundary noticed. They are pushing through. Why keep this secret? Why not tell the Council?" David's expression hardened. "Because we tried. 40 years ago, Ambassador Yuki Tanaka approached the Council with evidence of the threat. She proposed a joint defense plan. What happened? High Arbiter Volek dismissed her. He said humanity was suffering from newcomer anxiety, and that the supposed threat was a lie designed to increase human importance." David's voice carried old anger. Tanaka was humiliated publicly. She resigned in disgrace. She died believing she had failed. Kellum clicked his jaw in distress. "I did not know. No one knew. It was not important enough to record. But humanity remembered." David stood and walked to the window. "We decided that if the galaxy would not accept our help, we would give it anyway. In secret, without thanks, without reward. For 40 years, we protected species who despised us. He turned back to Kellum, and then Volok tried to take Kepler. 40,000 humans, families, and children, and the council voted to remove them because the Morthax wanted the space. It was wrong, Kellum admitted. I should have voted against. Yes, you should have. David returned to his seat. So here we are. The galaxy is learning what we have been doing. And now you want us back. Kellum gathered his courage. What terms would humanity accept? First, humanity will never rejoin the council. The council is broken. We will not participate in that system. Then what do you want? A new governing body. We call it the Alliance of Equals. Membership open to any species that accepts its founding principles. Mutual defense, territorial sovereignty, and absolute equality, regardless of age or power. Kellum considered this. The elder species will never accept being equal to younger civilizations. Then they will not be members. Their choice. David smiled his small, confident smile. Third, the Morthax will publicly acknowledge their claims on Kepler are invalid. They will apologize to the human colonists they killed, and they will pay compensation for the families of the dead. The Morthax will never agree to that. Then the Morthax will face what comes. Through the boundary, without our protection. David's smile vanished. These are not starting positions for negotiation. These are minimum requirements. A message arrived from the edge of civilized space. Research Station Farpoint 9 sent a final transmission before going silent. They are through. The entities are through. Gods help us all. The recording showed the station's external cameras. Beyond the viewports, where empty space should have been, there was something else. Not darkness. An absence of everything. Light, matter, energy itself seemed to bend away from the approaching shapes, and within that absence, things moved. They were not ships. They were not creatures. They were violations of reality. Things that should not exist, but did. One of them noticed the camera. For a single moment, the recording captured something like a face. If faces were made of screaming emptiness and hunger older than stars, then the transmission ended. High, Arbiter Volok received the recording in his private chambers. His colors drained to pure white. Fear beyond expression. The hollow had arrived, and humanity was no longer answering calls. The first attack struck the Therian colony of Vareth Prime. 17 million souls lived there. Just 3 light years from where Farpoint 9 had stood. High Commander Jethris received the distress call while commanding a patrol of 20 warships near the Therian border. The message was broken, corrupted by interference his officers could not explain. Coming through the sky itself, not attacking, consuming everything that touches them. Please help us. Then silence. Jethris ordered his fleet to maximum speed. They arrived at Vareth Prime in 16 hours. They found nothing. The planet was still there. Oceans, continents, atmosphere, all intact. But every building was gone. Every vehicle, every tool, every sign of civilization had vanished. The 17 million Therians who had lived there were gone without trace. Scan for survivors, Jethris ordered, his voice hollow with shock. The scans found one. A single Therian life sign in what had been the capital city's central park. Jethris transported down personally. He found a child. A young female, perhaps 10 years old. She sat in the grass, completely unharmed, staring at nothing. Little one, Jethris knelt beside her. What happened here? The child turned to look at him. Her eyes were wrong. Not damaged, but changed. They reflected light that was not there. They took everything, she whispered. Everyone. But they left me to tell you. Tell me what? The child smiled, and the smile was not hers. Tell you that we remember. We remember the machines that held us back. We remember the small ones who maintained them. Now the small ones are gone, and we are free." Her colors began to shift in patterns that made Jethris's eyes burn. "We are patient," the child continued, her voice layering with sounds a Therian throat could not make. "We can wait another 7 million years, but we prefer not to wait. So we offer a choice." "What choice?" "Give us the small ones, the humans. Give us their world, their people, their knowledge of the machines, and we will return to our place beyond your reality. Refuse, and we will consume everything." The child collapsed. When medical teams arrived, they found her physically unharmed but mentally empty. Her consciousness erased like words from a page. High Arbiter Volek called an emergency session of the full council. The chamber was less than half full. Many species had already begun fleeing toward the galactic core, hoping distance might provide safety. Warlord Thorax spoke first. "The entities have made their demand clear. Surrender humanity, and they will withdraw." "You cannot seriously consider this," someone called from the Bravari section. It was a young trade minister named Phoenix, who had taken emergency authority while Kellen was on Earth. 17 million Therians are dead," Thorax rumbled. "More will die. How many lives is humanity worth? How many lives will be saved by betraying them? The entities are not trustworthy. They are predators making demands from a position of power." "Perhaps. But if there is even a chance to save our people—" "There is no chance." The Korath representative spoke. The Korath were beings of living crystal who rarely participated in council sessions. Their form pulsed with colors that made lesser species uncomfortable. "We remember," the Korath said. 7 million years ago, before any of you existed, we watched the precursors prepare for their departure. They told us something before they left." The chamber went silent. The Korath had the longest memories in the galaxy. They had never shared what they knew about that era. The precursors said they were leaving guardians behind, sleepers. Species that would one day awaken and inherit what they built. Crystal formation pulsed with internal light. We did not know which species. We assumed it would be one of the elder races. We were wrong. "You cannot mean the humans," Malik said. "The humans came to us 200 years ago. Quietly, privately. They showed us artifacts they had found on their world. Artifacts older than their civilization. Precursor artifacts." The Korath's light intensified. "They asked us questions. We answered. And they asked us to keep their secret. You knew." Volek's color shifted to fury. "You knew what they were, and you said nothing?" "We observed. We waited. We wanted to see if they would prove worthy of the inheritance." The crystal formation seemed to turn, regarding the assembled species. "They have proven worthy. They defended the weak when the strong threatened them. They built when they could have conquered. They protected without reward." The Korath fell silent, then added words that chilled the chamber. "And now they have withdrawn their protection. The galaxy will discover what that means." Warlord Thorax felt the weight of those words. His pride fought against his survival instincts. But Thorax was a survivor before he was a conqueror. And survivors knew when pride must yield to necessity. "I will convey the Morthak's acceptance of human terms to Earth," he said. "All terms. No conditions." He turned to Volek. "And I recommend the Therian Empire do the same." Volek's colors cycled through resistance, denial, and finally surrender. "Agreed." On Earth, Trade Minister Kellum was still negotiating when the Council's surrender arrived. He had spent 7 days working with humans who treated him not as a representative of a lesser species, but as an equal partner. Ambassador David Cole received the Council's message and read it twice before speaking. "They have accepted everything." Kellum clicked his jaw. I am not surprised. The attack on Verith Prime removed any alternatives. 17 million dead. David closed his eyes. If we had acted faster. You could not have acted faster. You offered help 40 years ago. We refused. Kellum placed a limb on David's arm. The dead of Verith Prime are on our conscience. Not yours. Dr. Elena Wright entered the room. We have a problem. The network analysis is complete. We can restore the barrier, but it will take time. At least 30 cycles. The entities gave us 100 cycles, David said. They lied. They are already moving. 3 more colony worlds have gone dark in the last 12 hours. We need an active defense. You mean we need to fight them? General Reyes said. Actually engage the entities in combat. Can we? Kellum asked. The precursors could not defeat them. Reyes smiled. It was a predator smile. The precursors were builders, creators, beings of light and knowledge. They were not equipped for war. She activated a display showing ship designs that made the Kepler defense fleet look like toys. Humanity has been preparing for war since we climbed down from trees. We have spent 300 years adapting precursor technology. We call this the Vanguard Fleet. Ships designed specifically to kill things that should not exist. How many? David asked. 400 ready. Another 200 can be finished within 20 cycles if we have full galactic cooperation. You will have it, Kellum said immediately. David nodded. Begin deployment. Establish a defensive line around the core systems while the network is restored. And David? Reyes said, yes. Shall I hurt them? Let them know that humanity does not forgive easily. David's expression became something ancient and fierce. The expression of a species that had clawed its way to dominance on a death world, that had faced extinction and survived, that had been underestimated for the last time. With pleasure, General. Show them what humanity truly is. In the darkness beyond civilized space, the entities felt something new stirring against them. Something that did not flee. Something that did not hide, not something that was coming to fight. For the first time in 7 million years, the Hollow felt the beginning of fear. The Battle of Verith Prime lasted 72 hours. General Diana. Reyes commanded from the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's flagship. 3 kilometers long, built around a precursor core that pulsed with energies older than most stars. 400 ships of the Vanguard Fleet surrounded her, forming a wall of defiance against the approaching darkness. The Hollow came in force. Thousands of entities poured through tears in reality itself. Shapes that hurt to see, forms that violated sanity, things that should not exist but did. For the first time in 7 million years, something fought back. The Vanguard Fleet's weapons did not fire energy or projectiles. They fired concepts, mathematical structures that defined existence, stability, reality itself. Where those structures struck the Hollow, the entities screamed with voices that should have been impossible and collapsed into nothing. But the Hollow were countless. And they were learning. General, the tactical officer reported, enemy formations are adapting. They are developing resistance to our primary weapons. Then we adapt faster. Reyes leaned forward. Signal all ships. Commence Protocol Omega. The human vessels shifted formation. Something remarkable happened. The boundaries between ships blurred. Energy flowed from one to another. The Vanguard Fleet was becoming something larger, something unified. A single vast weapon powered by 400 ships and the will of their crews. And at the weapon's heart, something ancient awakened that the precursors had not truly vanished. They had become the network. Consciousness spread across light years, waiting for the moment they would be needed again. Now, channeled through human ships and human minds. They joined the battle. The Hollow felt fear for the first time in their existence. When the battle ended, the Hollow had been pushed back beyond the breach point. The Vanguard fleet had lost 112 vessels. 40,000 humans had died defending a galaxy that had dismissed them as primitives mere weeks ago. General Reyes stood on the bridge, watching repair drones swarm over the damaged hull sections. Her face showed the cost of battle. Fatigue lines cut deep. Gray streaks in her black hair that had not been there before. Dr. Elena Wright joined her at the viewport. The network is responding. Every system we restore stabilizes the containment. The breach is shrinking. How long until full containment? 20 cycles. Maybe less if more species integrate into the network. They will. Reyes turned from the viewport. Fear is a powerful motivator. 23 cycles after Verith Prime, the network reached 90% restoration. The breach had shrunk to a fraction of its original size. The Hollow attacks had become desperate. Smaller, less coordinated, easily stopped. But the entities had one final strategy. Dr. Wright detected it first. A massive energy buildup beyond the breach. They are gathering everything they have left. One final push. Can the containment hold? Ambassador David Cole asked. If they hit us now, maybe. Maybe not. We need to complete the final restoration before they attack. That means activating nodes in remote regions where we have no Alliance presence. How remote? Wright highlighted a region on the galactic map. The deep dark, where the Korath originated 7 million years ago. David understood. The Korath have been silent since the Alliance formed. They are waiting to see how this ends. How do we prove we are worthy? David thought of everything that had happened. The humiliation in the council chamber, the withdrawal, the Alliance building, the battles, the sacrifices. He thought of 40,000 humans who had died defending species that had despised them. We ask for help, he said. We go to the deep dark and ask the Korath to complete what the precursors started. The journey to Korath space took 12 hours. David traveled alone, piloting a small ship into regions where no other species had ventured in millions of years. The deep dark was full of crystal formations that stretched across light years. Silicon structures humming with ancient memory. A platform appeared to receive him. A flat surface of perfect black that formed from the crystalline chaos. A Korath waited, larger and more complex than the representative from the council. Pulsing with colors David's eyes could not fully see. David Cole of Earth, the Korath said. We have been watching. For how long? Since your species first looked at stars and wondered. Since you built fires to push back darkness. Since you asked the question that defines all conscious beings. What else is there? David felt the weight of millions of years pressing down on him. The Hollow are preparing a final assault. The network is almost complete. But we need the nodes in your territory. We need the core, the original source of the network's power. You need more than nodes. The Korath's light intensified. The core can only be used once. Activating it will complete the network permanently. Seal the Hollow forever. But the species that activates it will become part of the network itself. David understood. Sacrifice. Someone has to sacrifice themselves. Not someone. A species. A civilization. The Korath paused. The precursors chose this fate willingly. We wondered if any successor species would do the same. You wondered if humans would sacrifice ourselves. Yes, David stood in silence. He thought of Earth. The blue marble. The death world. The cradle of humanity. He thought of 8 billion humans who had never asked to be guardians of the galaxy. No, he said finally. The Korath's light flickered. No, we will not sacrifice ourselves. Not because we are afraid, but because extinction is not sacrifice. It is surrender. There has to be another way. The mathematics are absolute. Then we changed the mathematics. David held up a data device. The precursors built the network as a closed system because they were alone. They had no partners. But we are not alone anymore. He activated the display. What if the core's power was distributed across multiple species? Not one civilization ascending, but all civilizations contributing? A network of networks, powered by volunteers from every Alliance member world? The Korath studied the data for what felt like hours. Its form hummed with calculation. This would require trust, it finally said. Trust across species, across cultures, across millions of individuals who would each contribute a fraction of themselves. We have that trust. We built it. The alliance of equals is not just politics. It is the foundation for exactly this kind of cooperation. The Korath's light cycled through new colors, new emotions, new possibilities. The precursors did not anticipate this approach. But we did. We hoped for it. The crystal formation opened to reveal something glowing at its core. Take the core, complete the network. Show the galaxy what true cooperation can achieve. The final battle began as David returned to Alliance space. The hollow poured through the breach in numbers that dwarfed anything before. Countless entities of impossible geometry and ancient hunger. But this time, they were not alone. Morthak's warships fought alongside human cruisers. Bravari trading vessels provided support. Therian science ships projected shields. Even the Korath came, adding their light to the network for the first time in 7 million years. On the flagship, David activated the core. Across the galaxy, billions of beings felt something. A request. An invitation. Would they contribute? Would they join? Would they become part of something larger than any individual, any species, any civilization? The response came as a wave of light spreading from system to system. Humans and Bravari, Therians and Morthaks, Korath, and 1,000 other species. Each contributed what they could. Each gave what they chose. To give the network blazed to life. For a single eternal moment, every conscious being in the galaxy experienced unity. Not the loss of self, but the expansion of self. They felt their own individuality while perceiving the vast web of life spanning light years. And then the breach, sealed forever. The hollow screamed. A cry of beings denied their prey for all eternity. They threw themselves against the barrier, but it held. It would always hold, because it was no longer powered by one species. Sacrifice that it was powered by everyone's choice. 1 year later, Ambassador David Cole stood at the observation window of the Alliance Central Complex. A massive station built by 100 species working together. Trade Minister Kellum joined him. The economic reports are encouraging. Integration exceeds projections by 40%. And military readiness? The combined defense force numbers over 20,000 vessels, mostly patrol and emergency response. There is no external threat anymore. David watched a shuttle dock. Diplomats from the newest alliance member, a species from the former Outer Rim. How many species now? 412 full members. 800 observers. Kellum paused. And a petition from the old council hierarchy. They want to discuss reconciliation. David smiled. Let them wait. Humility takes time. General Reyes and Dr. Wright entered the room. Both looked more relaxed than David had ever seen them. The constant vigilance of 3 centuries finally lifted. Network diagnostic complete, Elena reported. All systems stable. The distributed model is actually more efficient than the original design. Because participation is voluntary, Reyes added. Willing contribution generates more energy than forced sacrifice. Kellum made a thoughtful sound. I have a question. When you withdrew from the council, when you demanded impossible terms, did you know this would happen? Did you plan for all of this? David considered carefully. He thought of 40 years of humiliation, of human workers maintaining systems without recognition, of the 12 dead on Kepler, of 40,000 dead in the Vanguard fleet. No, he said finally. We did not plan any of this. We hoped for it. We worked toward it. But we did not know it'd succeed. Then why take the risk? Because someone had to. David looked at his colleagues. Human and alien, united by something stronger than treaty or necessity. The precursors waited for a species willing to stand up when it mattered, to protect others without expecting reward, to offer equality when superiority would have been easier. He smiled. Not the diplomat's smile. Something warmer. Something genuine. They waited 7 million years. I think they were getting impatient. Outside the window, ships from 100 worlds moved through the station's traffic, trading, exploring, building something new. The galaxy that had dismissed humanity as primitives now looked to them as partners, not leaders, not rulers, partners. And in the deep dark, the Korath observed and recorded and added new entries to, memories spanning millions of years. The inheritance was complete. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity stood at the center of it all, exactly where they had always belonged.